Days now, speculation about Donald Trump's failing health has taken over the internet ever since he appeared with a massive spot on his right hand on Friday while meeting with World Cup officials. And that spot was so bad it looked like it had actually been covered in whiteout instead of actual makeup. And then, for the remainder of the weekend, whenever Donald Trump was on camera, he was seen very intentionally covering up that right hand. But then on Sunday, something else happened. Because on Sunday, Donald Trump went and played golf with Roger Clemens, who he then insisted needs to be in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, yada yada. But his left hand showed the same kind of bruising that is clearly being covered up on his right hand. So, it's not just the right anymore. Now it's both hands with significant bruising that, for the record, defies the answer coming from both Donald Trump's White House physician and, of course, Caroline Leavitt. Because Caroline Leavitt was reached for comment about the new bruise on his left hand. And here's what she said. President Trump is a man of the people, and he meets more Americans and shakes their hands on a daily basis than any other president in history. His commitment is unwavering, and he proves that every single day. It's worth noting that this horrible wretch of a human being said this on her birthday. So happy belated birthday to the demon, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. But anyway, that makes no sense. And remember when we got Donald Trump's health record, a couple months ago, his physician, Navy Captain Sean Barbarella, said that his bruising is consistent with minor soft tissue irritation from frequent handshaking and the use of aspirin, which is taken as part of a standard cardiovascular prevention regimen. Even on a baby aspirin regimen, it's not going to cause bruising like that from mild irritation. And that doesn't explain the left hand. Donald Trump is right-handed. He only shakes people's hands with his right hand. And by the way, if he is so frail and fragile that shaking a couple hands leaves him with a big old bruise, then he's too frail to be president of the United States.
Be taking these labored breaths. Even when he's not speaking and you see him on camera, he's trying so hard to breathe that his whole body moves. And that is something experts have pointed out in recent footage. You can see it, by the way, in the footage of him from Friday, meeting with the World Cup officials, where he looked like death. He was as white as a ghost, which of course is another indication that you're not getting proper blood flow. His face was droopy, saggy, all indicators of not getting blood flowing. And he was slow, because the next symptom, of course, is fatigue. Sounds about right. Very low energy. And then another symptom is swelling in the legs and ankles. Another symptom, by the way, is confusion. Another symptom is dizziness, which of course would explain why when he rolled out the red carpet for Putin, he wasn't even able to walk in a straight line. He's all over the place. Every single major symptom of congestive heart failure, Trump has shown us in the last 3 weeks. Every one of them. There's no exception. And of course, the bruising would be indicative of blood thinners, which would be used to make sure that you don't have any buildup or blockages so that blood can flow properly. And that explains the bruising. So every single thing that Trump has can be explained with a very common medical condition for people in his age group with his lifestyle and by the medications that those people would be on. None of it is explained by, he shakes a lot of hands and he's got very fragile hands. Nope, that doesn't fit. What does fit is congestive heart failure and blood thinners. So if that's the case, then the White House is clearly covering up a very significant health issue that Donald Trump appears to be suffering from. If not, then maybe the people who do this for a living, all of them are completely wrong. I don't know. Whose word are you going to take on this? Caroline Leavitt? Or the people who spent years going through college, then medical school, then residency, then all of that to finally become practitioners? I got to tell you, I think I'm going to err on the side of safety and not believe Caroline Leavitt and instead go with the medical professionals on this one.
So the president has congestive heart failure and or chronic kidney disease, I'm pretty sure. I'm a physical therapist and I work in home health. I work with congestive heart failure and chronic kidney disease patients on a daily basis and have done so for the last 14 years. I made a video previously explaining why I thought he did based on the symptoms I was spotting at the time. particularly the nature of the swelling in his legs. But then I remembered I've forgotten an obvious one: periorbital edema, or swelling around the eyes. My wife is a massive fan of Sherlock Holmes, and she has all of the Jeremy Brett versions of Sherlock Holmes from Grenada Television in the UK from years ago, all on DVD. Jeremy Brett was a brilliant British actor who actually ended up passing away from congestive heart failure. And as his disease progressed, he put on weight in general, and he developed periorbital swelling. So when you look at Trump nowadays, it's not simply that he's getting old and his skin is sagging, it's that his eyeballs are floating from all that fluid his body is not supposed to be carrying. And I've seen several videos recently from ICU and ER nurses that suspect that he's actually on IV Lasix. We all know his diet is terrible, so we just need him to keep that up. I can tell you from firsthand experience with congestive heart failure and chronic kidney disease patients, the thing that puts them at the most risk of hospitalization or a fatal event is non-compliance with their medication or their diet. We know he's not compliant with his diet, but he can get away with that because he has access to the best health care the world can provide, including IV treatments whenever he needs them. Nobody is going to tell this president what he should or should not be eating, and that's fine. We're okay with that. Many of you were asking before, well, how long does he have? And the truth is, it could be a couple of months if he doesn't behave, which he won't. Awesome. And before any of you MAGA smooth brains jump in the comments, it was completely wrong of the federal government to hide how bad Joe Biden was actually doing. I don't care who it is in office. You need to be healthy. And if you're not, those things need to be disclosed to the American people. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Donald Trump today has a big bruise on his hand. We've seen this for a long time now, usually with a terrible makeup job, but now it's out and open. Trump's hand is very bruised, and he's trying to hide it as much as possible. And my big question to start off is not only about his health, but also, who the hell is doing makeup in the White House? That's how you know they kicked all the gays out, because the fact that it looks that terrible when they try to cover it up is really just, it really tells you something. But also, the media has been asking 0 questions about Donald Trump's health. It would be crazy. It would be absolutely nuts if Joe Biden, after all this, commotion, somehow survived longer than Donald Trump. Donald Trump's ankles are the size of Cracker Barrels. Donald Trump's hand is constantly bruised. His hair is falling apart, super gray. They don't even dye it anymore. He can barely talk without breathing super heavy. He doesn't know where he is half the time. Putin's Russia bombed an American company this week, and Trump did not say anything about it. He pulled up a picture of him and Putin and said, you know what? I look great in this picture, but Putin looks even better than I do. He is falling apart completely, and America is being dominated and pretty much overtaken by foreign governments who are lobbying the president with fancy gifts, and the oligarchy within America as well. What are we doing as a country? Where is the media? The media is responsible for this current Trumpism. The media is aiding this rise in authoritarianism in America, and they should not be forgiven for this. They need to ask the question, what is happening with Donald Trump's health? Please drop a like, repost this video, and follow my page.
So as hopefully a surprise to no one, August 24th came and went, and no special event happened. And if you got excited because you heard some spiritual person or medium mention that date, just remember they're all lunatics and con artists. However, we do know that there is a decline happening very fast. Because a few months ago people started talking about how Trump had bruises on his hands, which most health professionals would say that's usually a sign of someone who is regularly getting IV treatment. But of course the White House just kept saying, it's because he's shaking hands all day. Meanwhile, even when he's not meeting with anybody, he still has those bruises and they're not healing. And we found out a few months ago that he had swollen ankles and that he had chronic venous insufficiency, according to the White House. And if they're actually willing, in an administration full of liars, to admit that, you know the truth is much worse. And when he came out the other day to talk to the press wearing his Trump was right about everything hat, which is the funniest fucking bullshit I've ever heard, he distinctly had a bunch of makeup on his hand that did not match his skin tone. When he got back to the Oval Office and noticed how bad it was, he kept trying to cover his hand with the other one as much as possible. First of all, let's point out that if he did get bruises from shaking hands, he would proudly show that off. And also, those bruises would not be around for months. And his followers are now talking about how they're worried about his golf career, because something seems to have injured his hand. Meanwhile, it's well known that he cheats at golf because he sucks at it, and he has for decades. But even if you weren't paying attention to the bruises on his hands, you should have seen when he was talking during that interview. He looks haggard as fuck. He looks half dead and thrown in a microwave. So we know that the day is coming. Hopefully sooner rather than later. Just don't get your hopes up and think that you're going to know about it ahead of time from an episode of The Simpsons or from somebody on TikTok with a bunch of tarot cards. And when it finally does happen and we're all dancing in the streets, we can remember Tim Walz's words about everything Trump took away from us.
I tell you, the privilege of my lifetime was stand beside someone we know was the most qualified and would have been a fantastic president in a President Harris. We wouldn't wake up every day to a bunch of shit on TV and a bunch of nonsense. We would wake up to an adult with compassion and dignity and vision and leadership doing the work, not a man-child crying about whatever's wrong with him. May his fat ankles find something today. Petty as hell.
Donald Trump is not doing well. This is a story I've been following for a long time, and now some video footage has just come out that shows that Donald Trump realizes that this is not good for him, that there is something going on that he cannot control, that the narrative is quite frankly getting away from him. And so the thing he's going to try to do is cover it up. He's going to try to lie. But the thing is when your mind is deteriorating, it becomes the one thing that you can't hide, because the more you try to hide it, the more it becomes obvious that you are physically and mentally declining. And as we saw in the Oval Office this past week, Donald Trump is clearly losing it. Not that he had it, but whatever he had is slipping away. He's really not making sense there, is he? And do you really believe that Donald Trump talked to Putin about what's going on with the war, that he's not happy about a U.S. factory being blown up? Of course not. Of course not. And as you can see, Donald Trump is clearly just like losing grip. And as we said in a previous video, Alex Jones is even worried that the president is going to soon collapse. And I kind of think one of the clearer signs that Donald Trump is not only losing grip with reality, but that the right knows it, is that they're starting to go off and attack him. And this is a subtle jab, but here is Fox News kind of saying that the thing Ghislaine Maxwell did, which is trying to clear Trump, doesn't really pass the smell test. Yeah, so they're like driving in the knife there. They are shanking the President of the United States with the one person he thinks is going to be able to clear him from what we know is all true, that Donald Trump is implicated and that Donald Trump most likely engaged in some unlawful activity with Epstein. And the fact that Ghislaine Maxwell is being attacked by Fox News says to me that Fox realizes that there's a life after Trump, and it may be coming sooner than we could imagine, because look at this man. He is just clearly not doing well. He's not doing well. I don't wish ill on anyone, but now, Donald Trump also, when he was in the Oval Office, is very interesting. People didn't point this out. So like people saw the clip about the gold, that he's like talking about how there's gold everywhere, and that clip got shared because of the insanity of that. But what people didn't notice that I clocked is that, remember, Donald Trump showed up with literally like what looks like wall paint on his hand. And as I'm going to show you in this clip, watch what Donald Trump is doing. He's covering up his hand. Watch this.
Make it, it'll be great. It'll be fantastic. You see the way this is looking? Look, nice. I can't tell you how much that gold costs, a lot of money.
So here are two images recently of Trump's hand, which he had for a while been covering up with makeup. Now you can clearly see a large bruise on his hand. The press secretary Levitt is saying, look, that's because he keeps shaking hands a lot and the use of aspirin. Now aspirin can cause bruising. This is true. However, bruising is also consistent with that chronic venous insufficiency, which the White House has said he has. It could also be a sign of, as people are saying, congestive heart failure. Now, from afar, it's very hard to tell. But if he also has symptoms of dementia, some causes of dementia are vascular in nature. Could this indicate that he has larger and deeper-seated problems with his cardiovascular system, causing some of those brain malfunctions? Is that possible? Is the bruise a symptom of drugs used to treat congestive heart failure? We don't know. We shall see. But he did end up going golfing, so that golf tracker might be bullshit.
So you remember how Donald Trump had silly putty levels of makeup on his right hand to cover up the bruising because he's obviously getting injections plus his cankles. It's clear he's got multiple heart issues of a very serious nature. Well, today he was seen with bruising on his left hand. Now, obviously something's going on. And I thought to myself, you know, as much as I hate Donald Trump, I hate the White House press corps even to a greater degree, because they don't ask who is contributing to his meme coin. Like, literally, we have billions of dollars coming in as a personal bribe to the president of the United States. Nobody asked the question, blatantly obvious. They didn't ask for the medical report or try to get the medical report from Butler, Pennsylvania, when he had this alleged attempted assassination with a, AR-15 bullet that went through his ear. By the way, I've been in combat. That kind of bullet leaves a giant hole. Very suspicious. They just relied upon Ronnie Jackson. And now they're not asking about his blatant medical problems. I mean, it's ridiculous. And Donald Trump, something's going on.
Hey man, did you see everybody's talking about Donald Trump's big nasty bruises? He's got what? Yeah, he's got giant purple splotches on his hands, the size of flapjacks. Oh no. And him and his team keep trying to cover him up, but it's with makeup so poorly blended that it's just like bruise highlighter. Like, hey, look at that. And his press secretary came out and said he got it because he's too friendly and he's shaking hands all the time. Like, madam, are you for real? You know Donald, notoriously gregarious. And his hands remind me of somebody. Looks kind of like the Queen's hand right before... Just before what? Nothing. Just making conversation. Whatever you say. What they are definitely not is a sign of congestive heart failure. Cause remember, he's the picture of health. No one has ever been more healthy. With Trump in office, shouldn't the presidential fitness exam be something like, can you stand up and then sit down without chest pain? Oh, but you know he knows. The other day he was talking to somebody about hoping he gets into heaven. Like, man, you'll be lucky if they let you look at the continental breakfast in heaven's lobby. So yeah, he knows something we don't, so now he's running around like it's the ending of Christmas Carol if Scrooge was an idiot. It's not too late. I still have time. I can ban flag burning. Boy, go tell the city. Oh, but that Peter Pan crocodile is out there, Donald. Tick, tick, ticking away. Every Big Mac you take in just helps him get here quicker. The way that dude eats, the crocodile is practically on roller skates at this point. Or at the very least, a Segway. But man, when it happens, the explosion of glee is gonna be measurable from space.
The president is definitely getting sicker. And we know he's not going to change his diet because he's such a fucking idiot. I think he's going to be around for 6 to 8 months tops.
You may have seen this viral video of this physical therapist giving his opinion on the president's health. Although the legitimacy of his claims are up for debate, it's not up for debate that the president's physical appearance and health has been in decline over the last days, weeks, months, and some would say even years. And something the White House had to actually address back in July. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said in a statement, quote, "In recent weeks, President Trump noted mild swelling in his lower legs." Now, she also revealed that he was diagnosed with chronic venous insufficiency, going on to say, quote, "Additionally, recent photos of the president have shown minor bruising on the back of his hand. This is consistent with minor soft tissue irritation from frequent handshaking and the use of aspirin, which is taken as part of a standard cardiovascular prevention regimen." Now, this is something that the physical therapist also talked about.
The only reason his health has been maintained at all is because he has the privilege of getting IV diuretics, spironolactone, Lasix, Bumex, something like that. That's why his hands have been bruised and covered with makeup. Badly, I might add.
And even his staunch loyalists are starting to question his health. Here's Alex Jones.
I've seen a lot of signs of Trump declining. The fear that he's getting sick, that who knows what's going on. His ankles are giant. That usually means serious heart decline.
With all that information, do you think Vice President J.D. Vance is ready to take the reins? Let us know in the comments. For the news of the day, follow now.
So Trump's hands are bruised again, and we wouldn't have noticed if it wasn't for this terrible cover-up job. Honestly, my conspiracy theory is that the White House makeup artist is doing this on purpose. This has been going on for months, and I was curious, how long has Trump's hand been bruised like this? This is from the inauguration. They seem to have gotten worse somehow at covering up his bruises, because let's do a side-by-side. Okay, so how do we go from this, which you can barely tell there's anything there, to this, unless the bruises are getting worse for some reason. Which is interesting. It's very interesting to me. But of course, Caroline Leavitt brushed it off. He was just shaking hands, and he takes aspirin. It's not a big deal. Back in 2020, Trump just unpromptedly tweeted that he did not have a series of mini strokes when no one was saying that he was. They just said that he went to Walter Reed in 2019 and that Mike Pence had taken over for a moment in case he stroked out. But Trump read that as we said that he had a series of mini strokes. It's like a 3-year-old drawing on the TV and then saying, I didn't draw on the TV with crayons. Anyways, I think he's sick. What could possibly cause that much bruising on the back of your hand that you need to have that much foundation on it that doesn't even match?
You guys, stop what you're doing. You're gonna want to hear this, especially if you've been waiting for it to happen. Earlier today, Donald Trump accidentally showed us his bruised hands, and we have to discuss this. We need to talk about it. This conversation especially needs to reach Fox News and MAGA Republicans. And I say that because every single day of Biden's presidency, MAGA, Fox News, Donald Trump, they all dragged President Biden for tripping, for coughing, hell, for even breathing. But now their strong leader is out here with hands that are obviously bruised, acting like he's auditioning for The Walking Dead. You're not going to sit here and tell me and tell the American people, gaslighting us into thinking he's in perfect health with those perfect hands. They're obviously bruised, his ankles are swollen, and his body is literally begging for retirement. If this is the man who's supposed to save America, he should start by saving his circulation first. Literally. And the American people right now deserve to see his health records, like everyone was literally chanting to see Biden's health records when he was in office. We need to start by doing the same for Donald Trump, because something is obviously up, something's obviously happening. He's deteriorating at a rapid rate, and I don't know. It's going to happen sooner rather than later, I hope. But I don't know, because my grandma always said that the devil never sleeps, money's the root of all evil, but evil people tend to live a long life. So I don't know.
Friend, rumors are exploding about Donald Trump's health. See, he hasn't golfed in 2 weeks, which is the longest he's ever gone without golfing. And people say he's dragging his right foot. His ankles are looking swollen, and photos are showing discoloration on his hand that looks like they might be injection sites. So the rumor online is that he has congestive heart failure. Now, it's not confirmed, of course, but it's definitely fueling one question that everyone is asking. Is Donald Trump literally dying right now? Because if he is and they're covering it up, that's not just about his health, that's about hiding the truth from the American people. So what do you think? Are those injection sites? Do you think he might have congestive heart failure? Are they hiding the truth from us? Let me know in the comments.